Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Eluder Racing. So, what I've been working on, if you watched my last couple videos, is this is my gauge pod on the Maverick, and I went ahead and installed the cluster that I had wired up on a previous episode. If you can see, there's the two gauges, the oil pressure and the boost, and the two rockers. And then also for you guys, you know, you've got your two spare ones right here that you've got the block or the block offs. I got them somewhere around here, but you know what I'm talking about. You got these guys right here, and you can knock those out. And I'm going to go with two more gauges here. Actually, it's going to be, this is actually something kind of neat that I found on eBay. And what this is two USB ports, and in the middle of that, believe it or not, is a volt gauge. So when the key is on, I will see the volts on the Maverick. So I saw that, I thought it was kind of cool, and I got it. So that's going to be there. And then for right here, I'm going to be running a rocker switch for my LED whips in the back. I don't have that switch in yet. It's on order. So I just wanted to show you what that looks like without it. I don't know if a lot of people know that you can take those off. You have to pull this off to get it. Here's the back. All the wires are coming out. What I did was I took one of the extra holes. There's two holes, drain holes on the bottom, and then rather than drilling a big hole and adding potential for water to get up in there, I just opened this up a little bit, and the wiring is coming out along with the hose for the boost gauge. The white wire is for my oil pressure gauge that goes to the sending unit that goes on the motor block, or on the engine block. And then I'm tied in. What I did was I made another harness, and what I'm doing is I'm splicing into the cigarette lighter plug, and I just created a splice, and then this is going to go into that, and then when the key is turned on, it's going to energize this along with those rockers up there. So that's my switched power, and that's also going to activate that, and then it will also activate that one once. So everything's going to be keyed like I talked in my previous video. I like everything to be keyed and turned on at that point. Turn the key on, the gauges will light up, the rocker switches will become hot, and then you can turn on your accessory. So that's just kind of a way that I like doing it, and it's a way that I suggest you do as well, because you do not want to leave something turned on. And yeah, obviously I know you guys, yeah, what if you leave the key on? Well, yeah, you could leave the key on, but it's a little bit harder to do that than it is just to have a switch that you're not really paying attention to, where the key, if you're going away for a long period of time, most of us pull the key out or you turn it off, whatever. You have a less likely of a chance to kill your battery and leave you stranded if you have it on a key rather than just being on something that's hot all the time. So, been out in the garage doing that. It's a cold day here in Michigan, so as you can see, I got a nice warm fire going, and trying to stay warm out here in the garage. And it's low 20s and snow today, so just a good day for coming out here and doing some wiring. So after I did that over there, I started working on the harness for the LED light bar. And what I did was I got this wire. I ended up getting like 25 feet of it. And a little trick that I'm going to tell you, or a secret that I like using, this is low voltage underground irrigation wire. And what that means is it's perfect for 12 volt applications. And the fact that it is underground irrigation wire, it is has a good coating and it's resistant to water, sun, mud. It's a perfect wire that you can buy for, I think I paid 30 cents a foot for it. So you can buy it, big rolls of it, really cheap, and it's black, so it goes good with all the harnesses. And just a little tip for you guys that are do-it-yourselfers and are looking for low-cost alternatives as far as for harnesses and stuff like that. Underneath the heat shrink, I ended up making a connection, and I've got two butt connectors, but they're not standard butt connectors. What they are is they are a marine grade butt connector that has glue and adhesive inside it. So once you crimp them, you use your heat gun, and it shrinks up and it creates a watertight seal, and then I do double heat shrink over that. So I mean, there's no chance of water getting in there, condensation, and when you get water and condensation and all that stuff, you can get corrosion, and then you can have issues down the road. So I'm trying to combat that and make it as watertight as possible. So there is many layers there, and then glue and stuff like that, and I actually used a little bit of dielectric grease on top of it. So it's a good way to create a good watertight seal with not a whole lot of effort. And then what I'm going to do is this wire is going to be ran down the cage. It'll be attached properly. And then this cover is right here, and if you guys have ever pulled that off, that's your screen for your intake for your CVT. And this should be taken off and cleaned all the time. It's sand and debris and mud and stuff gets up in here, so you want to clean that anyway. So you guys probably know all about this, but what I ended up doing was I drilled a small access hole right here. I used a tapered bit, and you have to be careful when you do this, because if you look, that's a pretty thin profile right there. So if you just come in here and you just start drilling away like this, you're going to drill up through and come out the other side. You're going to be pissed. So you're going to need to go on more of a straight angle rather than an upward angle. And then this is a grommet that I use at work, and you can find them another way, but basically what this grommet does is it holds nozzles in place for big commercial industrial pressure washers. That's what I do for a living. And this is something that's on the body or on the chassis of the pressure washer. It holds the nozzles. So for my application, what it's going to act as is basically a grommet for me to put the wire through, and then not worry about the wire rubbing on the hole that I drilled and possibly chafing or cutting into the cord. So it's just a little bit of kind of overkill, but aesthetically, to look at it, it looks factory in my opinion. And you've got another grommet right here, and other than being a little bit smaller, I mean, if I wouldn't have told you that I did that, I would imagine 99% of you wouldn't have known that I did that. So that was kind of what I was going for. And then the wire is going to come down, bend around, it's going to go through there, and then I've got to route it over, and it's going to come to the dashboard, and then that's where I'll make my connection. Now, like I said, I'm going to be running relays. I like running relays for all of my accessories. So I'm going to have a relay for this front bar. I'm going to have another relay for these back lights, and then I'm going to have a relay for the whips, and that way everything, and then other relays I plan on adding a sound bar and some other things as well. So relays are highly recommended, guys. You got to use them because you're isolating that circuit, and then you're also protecting your charging system and the overall harness and everything for the Maverick, because that relay is now acting as the switch, and then you can pull straight off of your battery. Now I put that oversized battery in the front, and I think you guys will remember that I did that, but if you don't, this is that kit that I bought from EMP. and real nice kit. I mean, it's a direct bolt-in for turbo Mavericks. It'll work with the Maverick and the Max, and you could use it on like a Commander. You could use it on an older non-turbo Maverick, but on those models you have an airbox here. So unless you're going with some kind of custom airbox intake setup, you could not use this. But I mean, if you're doing like a turbo swap, or you're doing, you're doing some turbo stuff or getting fancy, then you could make it work. But this is technically intended for the turbo Maverick and the Maverick Max, which is basically just a 4-seater Maverick. But yeah, so I'm going to be having a strip up here, and then basically I'm going to have all my relays probably somewhere right down here or something like that. I'm going to come up with something real nice, and everything's going to be organized and everything like that. And then, coming from the battery to the strip, and then it will go to each relay, which is powering its designated accessory. So yeah, I just wanted to do a quick update. It's been a week since I did a video, and been working a lot and stuff like that, so I just haven't had a chance to get out here in the garage and do stuff. But I just wanted to show you what I'm doing and how it's coming along. And I really like this, like the way it looks. I like the purpose that it serves. It adds some much needed gauges. And like I said before when I was talking about this, you can get this plate or a panel, whatever you want to call it, in a lot of different configurations. I went with the switch gauge combo. You can go with 3 gauges, you can go with all switches, you can go with switches to the left or to the right. I mean, it's infinite on what guys are offering. But this is just the one that I went through. Ooh, man, fire is kicking. But yeah, so anyway, this is where I'm at right now, and I'm going to get this installed. I've got to get the sensor, which is actually right here. This is my oil pressure sensor, and I'm going to do a video on that as well. Now, when you guys if you choose to go with an oil pressure sensor, oil pressure gauge in your Maverick, or any side-by-side for that matter, I think oil pressure is, like, it's a no-brainer. You need to know what your oil pressure is. It's more important than your fuel pressure, your fuel gauge, as far as I'm concerned. You know how many miles you can go without a gauge. You get to know oil pressure when temperatures change, and there's just a lot of, you're out racing and driving hard or whatever. I would consider this to be one of your top priority as far as gauges, in my opinion. But so anyway, yeah, the reason I don't have this in yet is this gauge goes where I'm tapping into it is on top of the motor, and there's not enough clearance there, so you actually have to run, basically this is an 1/8 inch pipe thread, so you have to run a little it's a coupler basically, and what it would be is it would be 1/8 inch MPT, male pipe thread, by 1/8 inch FPT, female pipe thread. So basically you would thread that fitting into the motor and then thread this into that, and then you've got just one wire hookup. Basically is I went with this white wire. The gauge, they're calling it G for gauge, but the actual gauge harness is green. I just didn't have green wire, so I went with white. So if you wanted to stay color correct, you would want to use a green wire for this particular gauge, and you would run that wire. The gauge wire goes to the G, and then this is your ground. So that's got to go from here down, and you have to have a good ground somewhere on the chassis or on the motor itself. There's lots of grounding points on there. You just need to make sure it's not on something that's not plastic and isolated. You can't ground it to like a plastic piece or a rubber motor mount or something along those lines. You need to ground it to a metal part. So what I would do is find like a ground for your harness or something like that for your fuel injection or your voltage regulator or something on the motor, and where you see another ground wire go to, pull that off and then run you a little jumper wire. I'm just going to make my own wire, and it'll go from here down to that ground, and then this is grounded, and that's real easy. So yeah, so that's something that I've got coming up, along with more wiring, and then we've got to keep on going. We've got the rock sliders we've got to get put on, and then we got to get the blow-off valve dialed in. Got to get the tune done with the Map Tuner X. So lots and lots of stuff to still do, and yeah, so it's going to be busy the next few weeks. I'm trying to get this thing 100%, and I've got another race that I want to try to make. I didn't make it to the one last month like I was hoping. So there's a hill climb up in Harris, Michigan, and I would like to go up there and try to enter that and see what we can do. So got to try to get this done here in a couple weeks, because that's coming up. So like always, it's more projects than time. So anyway, but yeah, just a quick video. Just wanted to show you what I'm doing and where I'm heading and stuff like that. And yeah, so like, subscribe, and hope to talk to you soon. Take care. Alright, so I just wanted to do another quick closing video here. I got the side cover back on for the CVT intake, and I just wanted to show you how I'm going to have the wiring running down the wire. It's pretty much going to go down the inner part of the cage. I'll use a couple zip ties there, and then that'll be nice and tight, and you won't be able to see that anymore. And then down below, basically what I did was, it's up above the battery. It goes over that CVT pipe through that flare right there in the center, and then comes out in the middle. So, and then what it's going to do is it goes from the middle up to the battery, because like I said, I'm going to have some relays up here for all of my accessories, and I'll probably go right here on this back support right here. I'm going to make a plaque, and then I'm going to mount all my relays onto that, and then all my wiring that I'm running is going to ultimately end up here, and then it'll go to the relays. The relays will go to the battery, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to do more videos showing that, but I just wanted to show you how this one ended up. And one thing I would recommend is, when you guys are running this stuff and you're trying to figure out your length and stuff like that, leave the wiring that you bought as long as possible, because the worst thing you can do is end up being too short. If you think 3 feet's enough, by the time you go down and you go over and up and down and around and all that, if this wire was too short, you don't want to have to lengthen a harness because you were trying to cut corners and save a foot of wire or 6 inches of wire. So at 30 cents a foot, I'm not worried if I got a couple feet of scrap at the end of it. So leave it long, and then cut it at the very end once you've got everything done and it's all secured properly and everything like that, and you know it's done. It's not going to be removed, and that will save you a lot of headache down the road. So yeah, I just wanted to show you the harness ran and stuff like that, and where it was going and everything. And then next we're going to be doing the rear lights and the whips, and I'm going to be making some more harnesses and all that. Those will each be one harness a piece. And when I say that, what I mean is, for these two lights, I'm not going to run 2 harnesses. I'm going to put those together, and then I'll run one harness up to the front. With the whips, join the left and the right whip together in the middle, one harness up to the front. You don't need 4 harnesses going up to the front. That's just asinine. So yeah, join your left and your right, harness up, and it'll make life a lot easier for you. So that's what I'm going to be doing next, and as I'm doing that, I'll show some more videos and some more updates and stuff like that. So yeah, like always, like and subscribe, and You know, if you have any questions or whatever, you know, feel free. And yeah, so hope you enjoyed the video. Hope I helped you a little bit. And yeah, talk to you guys soon. Take care.